Hello and welcome to the Rask Network. What you're about to hear and see is limited to general financial information only. Please be sure to speak to your financial planner or refer to our financial services guide available at rask.com.au/FSG before acting on the information.
Welcome back to the Australian Business Podcast. Zara.
Thanks, Jordan. It's good to be here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Owen's away on holidays.
He is.
And he's handed over the torch.
Living it up in the EU.
He is. Very jealous.
Lucky guy.
It was funny. We're talking about it at lunch. Messaged him, how's it all going? He was at a library. And I was like, and he just responded about work. And I was like, mate, it's all good. Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Don't worry about work.
Yeah.
Clock off.
But no, he deserves
That's nice.
He deserves
He sure
a break,
does.
and I'm sure he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, totally.
So today we're going to have a bit of a marketing focus. So we've received a few questions, which is good.
Awesome.
And if the listeners do have more questions, please feel free to send them in, and we'll run through them with Zara, especially those marketing specific questions, which I personally am taking advantage of as well for my own knowledge.
Yep.
So everyone else should too. The first question is, how important is it setting up the Metapixel, your Google Ads conversion tracking, and conversions API when running Facebook ads or Google ads?
That's a good question. And in short, extremely important. Important, very important. So essentially the reason we install things like your Metapixel is so that we can understand our buyer behavior and that customer interaction and the customer journey that they have with you and your business. So it picks up on conversions, obviously, but it also helps us to identify where we've got potential drop-off points within our business, as well as what landing pages are converting our customers at a higher rate. So we would look at, when someone first jumps onto our website, that we can track like a landing page view, for example, or a website visit. We want to be able to track product page views. So when someone's looking at your content, and then if they're adding it to the cart. And if there's a drop-off at any of those points, potentially we have a lot of people visiting the website. We get a lot of people looking at our products, but we're not seeing a really high conversion rate, or our add to cart rate's really low. Then what we can do is, diagnose the issues on our product pages. So we can look at our product descriptions. We can look at our add to cart buttons. Is it high enough up in the page? Can we be bringing that higher? Do we have our flexible payment options on there? If you have Afterpay or PayPal info, have you got that kind of really visible on the website? And so then we can kind of really understand where we're losing our customers. And then we can also understand, on the flip side of that, what products are converting at a higher rate. So when we're looking at installing like Google Analytics and utilizing Google Tag Manager, for example, to install our Google Analytics code, we can then understand what our highest converting product pages are. So then that can help us as business owners to say, okay, well, I can see that 50% of the time when people land on these pink boots product page, that
Boots again today. That's the second time you've used boots as an example.
I have bought a few pairs of boots this week. I'm lost in the boots world. So essentially if we're seeing that a lot of people are buying a certain product, then it can help any future kind of products that we're creating. If we're expanding our services, then we can also figure out that this is what people want. So super important. There's a lot of ways you can do it. There's a lot of step-by-step guides through those platforms like Google Ads. They have like native integrations. You can also use things like Google Tag Manager. But yes, my definite advice would be to make sure that we've got all that set up.
For sure. Because I know we've had a few chats about different industries and what the cost per click is.
Yep.
And it can be super expensive.
Totally.
So if it's not set up properly, it's all going to waste, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, what is the Metapixel? What is the point of it?
Yeah, good question. So Meta, otherwise known as Facebook. So it's this piece of code that Meta has created that you install on your website, and it tracks what someone's clicking on your website. If they're looking at products, what products they're looking at. And then if they buy, it helps us if we're looking at running paid ads, for example. It can help whoever your account manager is or your digital marketing specialist. It can help them understand how successful those campaigns are as well.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, something super important to get right from the start.
Totally.
Otherwise, you'd just be burning dollars essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. The second question is, how do I choose the right social media platforms for my business?
That's a great question. I would look at the demographic breakdown of your audience, so who's buying your products, to understand what platforms they're spending their time on. That's really important because we want to make sure that we're meeting people where they're what platforms they're investing on. So if it is an older demographic, are we looking at Instagram? Are we looking at Facebook? If it's a younger demographic, are we looking at TikTok? And what's kind of that crossover? Because the ages are starting to cross over on those platforms as well. I think also looking at what sort of content you can create, like what is within your capacity and within scope within your business, because that will also determine how we utilize certain platforms as well. We can't just create a piece of content, slap it on Instagram, slap it on TikTok and expect it to work, because they are different platforms. They should have a different strategy and they have a different way of communicating with our audiences. So I think that's really important. Yeah,
for sure. And in terms of service-based businesses, again, selfishly asking, do you think it's still super important to have that presence throughout social media if it's not paid and you're just posting a couple of times a week, if that's the cadence?
Yeah, definitely. I think that what people want to know who's behind a brand. So even if they are coming to you to get their tax return done every year, they kind of want to know who they're coming to, and some of it can be that you can be communicating educational tips for small business owners in the lead up to tax time, ways that they can save, X, Y, Z. So even if you're not running paid ads, I think it's still really important to kind of show up and have a digital presence, because I know me as a customer, anytime I go to look at engaging with a business, I always look at social media to understand what are their products, how many people follow them, what's the risk for me as a new customer to get on board with this business. And social media can be a really good way of reducing that risk.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've spoken about it a few times. There's a few touch points before someone makes that buying decision.
Totally. Like I think it's increased recently, but it's about 8 to 10.
Yeah. And that's why it's super important to keep posting. Totally. I hate doing it. Get someone to do it.
Yeah. Find someone that can do it for you.
Yeah, that's it. Third question. So I have a homemade candle business. I've done markets and have a website, and I'm thinking about paid advertising. Not sure how much I should budget for digital marketing.
Good question. Very good question. I would say first thing first will be to look at your margins and figure out what you've got left. So if we're looking at like 100% of a product, we've got roughly 50% should be our production cost, like research, production, all those sorts of things. We've got 30% is our operating costs. And ideally, that's where your marketing budget fits in. And then you've kind of got a 20% profit on the end of that. So what we want to be doing is understanding kind of in that 30%, what have we got left? And if we start to add in a marketing budget, how much does that reduce our profits? And then we kind of work back from there. So I think that's kind of the first thing I would be doing as a business owner is figure out, what we've got to spend, and then have a look at, what platforms make the most sense based on what that budget is that you've got.
Yeah, okay. Let's flip that on its head. If I was this business owner, what do you think the best method would be for marketing and advertising? If the digital marketing space and the pay per click, if that was too expensive and too out of reach for whatever reason, what do you think is a really good way to get some quick wins on the board?
I think a good way to explore would be video content through TikTok. I think when we're thinking about candles, for example, it's hard because you can't people buy candles because they want the smell. Yeah. But it's hard when you're buying online, you can't smell the candle. So what can you do is you can showcase other parts of the product, and it could be through video content that talks about the burn time. It could be testimonials from other customers, and ways that they can kind of explain, I guess, the benefits of the product for you and create video content around that. I guess the benefit also of TikTok is you can kind of jump into it, create video content, and I guess if you tick the right boxes, there is a chance that quite a lot of people can see it quite quickly. So I think TikTok would be a great place to start. You don't necessarily have to invest paid money into it initially. And then once you're kind of understanding what's working with your demographic, then maybe we can say, okay, well, we know that this sort of content has worked. We can start by creating this sort of content in a paid space. So then again, I guess going back to de-risking your investment, before you start investing in paid ads and just kind of throwing everything at a wall and hoping to see what sticks, let's kind of start in an organic space and then let's build from there.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the good thing about the organic space is it literally costs you nothing but your time at the start.
Totally.
And at the start, you have an abundance of it.
Yep.
So take advantage of that while you can, because like we said previously, it can get super expensive with that pay-per-click, especially if you haven't done it before and you don't know what you're doing.
Totally.
I'm a sucker to that. I did that at the start. And it was very painful. But that's why it's super important to just take advantage of the low-hanging fruit that doesn't cost you money at the start.
Yep, definitely.
And I guess to To get some other quick wins on the board, let's say we are this candle business and we fast forward a year and we're doing 200,000 in revenue. We've got that customer base. We've built up contacts and whatnot. What would the marketing strategy look like?
That's a good question. And a fun one too.
We're starting a candle business.
I think Jay-Z candles.
Yeah, that's it.
I think you could look at email marketing would be a really great one. If you've already got an existing customer base, you could look at extending the lifetime value of those customers by looking at upsell campaigns, win-back campaigns. Maybe you can set up a subscription model that once that candle finishes, we know roughly it takes 3 months to burn through a candle. We can have a subscription service set up. You could have a referral program. I think also then you could start looking at paid advertising, PPC, because you've kind of got more capital behind you to invest into a platform like that. I think there'd be quite a few ways that you could have a look at, brand ambassadors, those kinds of things, partnerships with other businesses. There's still retail spaces going around. Maybe you could have a wholesale component of the business as well. So I think it can get quite broad quite quickly in terms of what you can do. But I think once you've established yourself a little bit and you've got that capital, then you kind of have a little bit more of an ability to play around, more frequently.
Yeah, 100%. And to dive a bit deeper on that example with the candle burning for 3 months, or it takes 3 months to burn out.
It doesn't take 3. That's a long candle.
Whatever it is. It's a big candle. What would the practical steps look like if we were to use a Klaviyo active campaign? I know you're more of a fan of Klaviyo, but if we were to use Klaviyo, what do the practical steps look like? And what does the email sequence look like if we were to use that example of a 3-month burn time of the candle?
Yeah, good question. So we would set up like a flow or an automated series. And
so what's that exactly?
So essentially it is a sequence of emails that get sent out on a particular cadence that you set up. And this, once it's set up, it operates in the background without you having to manually do anything. So automations or flows or series, depending on kind of the platform that you use and what they're called, really great way to start driving passive revenue into your business and have that passive income stream. So if we're looking at an upsell or like a subscription service or like just a win back, essentially, bring previous customers back into your sales funnel. We would look at potentially understanding, okay, well, we know that roughly it takes 90 days to burn through this candle. Then I'm going to set up a cadence that once someone has purchased from me and 90 days has passed or 100 days has passed, let's do a little leeway on either side. I'm going to reach out to that customer, bring in the product again, going back to like segmenting and tailored email communications. We're going to bring in what product that they've previously bought, ask them if they would like to rebuy that same product. We're going to put other bestsellers or other products that we think are similar to what they've previously bought that they might like. And then, we can set up conditional flows, which is essentially if someone does X, they get Y email, and if someone does Y, they get Z email. And so then we start to have these really niche but really tailored conversations with our customers and start to build those relationships, which are so important. And I think coming into 2024, not coming into, we're halfway through. But some stats I read the other day that was like 71 or 72% of customers want to have tailored communication from their business, from businesses and brands now, which is huge. So that essentially means that kind of like bulk send email shouldn't be sent anymore. It doesn't exist.
So like really segmenting the
segmenting.
database.
And so when people are coming into your database, that we're tagging them appropriately so that then we can have those hyper-tailored conversations.
Yeah, cool. And another example, because the candle example being e-commerce, what would a service-based business example be of that email sequence?
Yeah, good question. So, when we're looking at, say, a plumber, for example, or even like an accountant or a financial advisor, maybe we have like a annual kind of review or an annual conversation. We can then do like quarterly follow-ups. Maybe there are downloadable resources that we can be sharing. Some of them could be paid, some of them could be free. So again, I think when we're looking at, maybe we're a consulting or we're an allied health space where we have a consult and we don't have a conversation after that point, there are a lot of ways that we can continue interacting with our customers, previous customers, that either converts them into a customer again, or can then be a way of converting, going back to that referral idea, can be a way that they can convert their friends to becoming our customer as well. So I think if we're looking at, again, like financial advising or tax accounting and those kinds of things, we can discuss that initial annual review. We can look at tax returns. We can look at quarterly reviews, maintenance, those kinds of things that are really important when we're looking at like an investment portfolio. We can really have those, again, tailored conversations with people depending on, I guess, what funnel of business and what their scope of work is within our business.
For sure. And we had that inflection call today at lunch, and we used the example of a boat mechanic. So it really doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you spend the time to really think it through, there's an email sequence for you, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So, and it's super important because we also spoke that was it $1, every dollar you spend.
Yeah, the stats is every dollar can generate anywhere between $36 and $44. Crazy. So that return on investment is massive.
Yeah. So it's super important that anyone who has a business, who has a database, if you don't have a database, take steps to start to build that database and then just utilize it because there's no better return.
Yeah, totally.
So stay on top of it, that's for sure. Awesome. That was some really good questions. So just to recap, how important is it to track the metapixel, and same for Google Ads? Super important. Don't do it unless it's being tracked. How do I choose the right social media platforms for my business? And then we have the homemade candle example as well, which we flowed into email marketing and went a bit deeper because, again, that was the point of conversation in the group today. So it was good. Definitely. Awesome questions. Again, if you have any marketing questions or any business related questions, please feel free to send them in and we'll answer them live on the air. And Zara, if people want to get in contact with you to help with these email sequences we've spoken about or installing the pixel properly. How can they get in touch with you?
So Inflection Marketing is the website. Otherwise, you can email me, zara@inflection.au.
Beautiful. And we'll also have a link to book a call in the show notes too. So you can bombard her with all your questions.
Looking forward to it.
And the discovery calls are free as well. So it's a good chance for people to ask those questions.
Definitely.
So feel free to reach out.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Sounds good.
Zara.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.